Chair, we're live.
All right, great. I'd like to call to order the July 20th meeting of the Community Services Committee. With us tonight on the committee is Councilperson Barbara Smith, Councilperson Diana Revolus, and myself, Chair David Huvelman. At this point, we do not have a quorum, but I will open the meeting and we will move to public comment. Do we have anyone waiting that would like to address the committee? And I don't see any attendees in the attendee list. So we will close public comment and move on. We are not able to approve the minutes of June 15th because we do not have a quorum this evening. So we will move to item number 4, discussion updates from the health department. Ms. Deanna Diamore, take it away.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Huvelman. I'm going to pass it on to Brian to give updates. He has some updates related to, surveillance, air quality, and other infectious diseases, mosquitoes. I'm going to pass it on to him.
Great. Brian?
Yeah, thank you, Deanna. Hey, everybody. All right, so good evening. I'm just going to go over quickly about air quality, segue that to COVID and respiratory illness. Talk quickly about mosquitoes, and then segue then to just the water conditions. So just monitoring drought, and then that's about it. So starting off with environmental, going to infectious disease, then transitioning back to environmental. So jumping right into it, let me share a screen. So starting off with the air quality monitoring hub for the city, as we can kind of see here. If we scroll down for the air quality index currently for Norwalk, so far actually not a bad situation. It's only at 46, so we're in the green. Good news, and that covers again ozone, particulate matter 2.5 and 10. Again, today's forecast, as this stuff fluctuates very rapidly, you can see how parts of today, would experience, moderate activity. So going into the yellow, relative to ozone and particulate matter 2.5. And again, just looking at what yellow and moderate means, so it's the 51 to 100. Air quality is acceptable. However, there may be some risk for some people, particularly those who are unusually sensitive to air pollution. But, has been jumping around, as you probably saw with the recent week, and it continues. The smoke plumes come in, at various rates. And does change the air quality very quickly, can linger for some bit and then disappear. And so we've had situations where it was in the moderate, jumped into orange, which is unhealthy for sensitive groups. Haven't had any indication that of red, but still something to keep an eye on. But as you can see in the upper left-hand corner here, what you can see for the left-hand side, the current air quality, you can see that there is some red, at least, the northwestern part of Canada. But again, that's where the wildfires are, where the smoke plumes eventually make their way to the northeast, if obviously given the right conditions with the wind. But as you can see for the air quality forecast, you can see that moderate activity kind of settling in a little bit in the northeast region. So it's something just to keep an eye on. And then obviously in terms of the wind directions, kind of just blowing all over the place. But still, it's just very interesting just to kind of see how this all plays together. In terms of just the whole situation. So just as a reminder, the kind of general guidance individuals will follow relative to the air quality. This is all here at the norwalkt.gov/air webpage. And then along with that, just signing up for those alerts. Again, I keep emphasizing that, but I think this is really important just so everybody stays in the know in real time, as opposed to waiting for these other updates. And so again, that's the Norwalk Code Red alerts, the Notify Me notifications from the city, as well as the EnviroFlash from EPA's Air Now, which is again a really great resource. So this one on the right hand side is definitely one to sign up for. Establish thresholds. Again, if you feel orange, it's kind of the position that you would like to be notified in terms of the air quality. By all means, sign up for that. Otherwise, you could do red. But then it will give you the current situation as well as the forecast relative to that. So now switching to COVID. This is just our favorite kind of wastewater monitoring surveillance. And so as you can kind of see here for Fairfield County, you probably also heard it in the news a little bit, just generally speaking nationally, there has been a very slight uptick in terms of COVID, in some time, given that, we've been having a very nice summer so far. generally speaking. But as you can see here for Fairfield County, you can see how the wastewater surveillance has bumped up a little bit, and then you can also see partly why that is. And so you can kind of see here with all the different subvariants in the mix. I've shown you this visual in the past from the CDC, but as you can see, there's a lot of players in the field here. And the game has changed, right? XBB 2.3 is now in the lead in the largest proportion, not by a landslide or anything like that, but it is something kind of to kind of keep in mind. And actually, that's kind of a mix with XBB 1.5. So sorry, it's XBB 2.3 at 13.4%, XBB 1.5 at 16.1%. And then you also got XBB 1.16 at 17.5%. CDC is actually presenting this a little bit differently. But again, keep in mind, these are the estimates based upon the time period June 25th to July 8th. So there is a little bit of a lag or delay relative to the updating for this. But still, like the point to hit home is really that there's a lot of subvariants in the mix here. And as you can see here, regionally speaking, there's no exception. This is just like a potpourri of different subvariants that are presenting. Some of that uptick that it's been attributed to obviously the international travel and domestic travel that's occurring. Because of the summertime, there's some other very unique subvariants that are being monitored, one in particular from the Dominican Republic. So that's something just, for us to kind of be aware of and just keep an eye on. But at the moment, still nothing too major. Even with the forecasting models from the CDC, nationally speaking, things are still kind of holding baseline. And then along with that, for the state of Connecticut, still a little bit minor jump back and forth. But it's something, again, just to keep an eye on, especially as these analyses and these estimates get updated. As more kind of develops. And so as you can see here, this is the weekly emergency department visits by age group. And again, this is showing for COVID, influenza, RSV, and combined. The point to hit home, again, it's very subtle, but just want to hit that point home. You can see how COVID, the red line, is just showing that little bit bend upwards in terms of those weekly emergency department visits. And if you actually look at by age group, I just looked at this beforehand, seems to be the 18 to 64-year-old age group, which is a large bracket there in terms of what the CDC is presenting, nationally speaking, is kind of one of the larger contributors to that reason. So just something to keep in mind. But again, given that large age bracket, and again, tying it to kind of just summer activities and travel and all these other activities, naturally, it's something to anticipate. It's just something to keep an eye on too, just as the new school year will be starting soon enough. And then usually we get kind of that bumper uptick of activity relative to COVID as everything kind of settles down. So that's something to also be prepared for too. So with that, switching gears, still in the realm of infectious disease, looking at it for mosquitoes. So fortunately, nothing's been positive in terms of the mosquito surveillance conducted by the Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station. So again, these are sites in Cranberry Park and Rowayton School. Not really a large number of mosquitoes either, compared to some other areas in the state. So fortunately, it's overall good news. And partially that could be contributed to, and as a result of switching to drought conditions, might be partly that, although we've had some rain, as a parent. But fortunately, this is actually, improvement from the prior week's update in terms of the drought. But generally speaking, Lower Fairfield County has always been kind of the more drought zone in terms of this current season. But as you can see, it's also made its way into New Haven County as well. That is currently just something to keep an eye on. So it's just abnormally dry in terms of that qualifier there. But yeah, what we want to avoid is getting anything that's any sort of level of drought. Definitely that would obviously modify or suggest modifying behaviors and water usage as a result, just to be preemptive in terms of the remainder of the season, how things may play out. So again, just it was a quick summary relative to air quality. So nothing too major, but just keep an eye that there will be some moderate activity relative to the air quality changes related to ozone and PM 2.5. Respiratory illness wise, COVID is something to keep an eye on, but right now is not really that much of a concern. And then in terms of the other respiratory illnesses, it's just really more of baseline activity. Mosquito activity is still kind of low, but it's happening. So something to still take prevention measures and precautions against. And then in terms of drought conditions, fortunately not too serious, but again, it's something really much we need to keep an eye on because we still at least have activity that's marked as abnormally dry for our area. And we did actually, I think a couple weeks ago, we're in moderate drought. So it's something else still to keep in context with all this because it does jump around, much like the air quality situation as this gets updated on a weekly basis. So Took you from the environmental to the infectious back to environmental. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate the update and good to know that maybe we're coming out of the drought situation and it will keep raining a little bit. That might be a good thing. Deanna, do you have any other updates or reports?
No other updates from us.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Brian or Deanna? No? Great. Let's move on to 4B. Update from the Chief of Community Services, Mr. Lamont Daniels.
Yes, good evening. Good evening, Chair. Good evening, council members. Just a brief update. I want to just share with you, I believe we talked about it before, but as we get closer, we're really pleased that the mini grant program that we launched almost 6 weeks ago has now since closed. And we received 40 applications, which is pretty exciting. However, the reviewers always have that tough job to then decide how to award the grants. And to put it in context, this pilot program was specifically designed for small nonprofits. And our criteria was nonprofits who had an annual operating budget of $1 million. And the focus was really to look at providing support from the city side to help build capacity, but also to acknowledge the great work that many of the small nonprofits do. Because we do know, and the city recognizes, that it's the smaller nonprofits that are often really grassroots and have access to residents that maybe these larger systems has done. And I just want to amplify that this is certainly not a quick fix initiative, but it was an effort that under Mayor Rowan, I thought it was very important to do so. And I just want to remind everyone, this is taxpayers' dollars. So anytime you ask for taxpayers' dollars, a lot of requirements. There's no other way to put it, because I think we have an obligation to do our due diligence in how we spend taxpayers' dollars. And so to this committee and through Chair Huberman, that we will be asking to present this next month at a special meeting, because we want to get the money to the nonprofits. They need it now. You know, again, we recognize through our legislative process, there are procedures and protocols that we have to follow. So I want to just say up front, thank you for the special meeting. And then we know we'll be going before the General Counsel, and Council President Burnett has allowed us to present it at the meeting that has been rescheduled. But again, just want to publicly thank our reviewers who have the arduous job to select the applicants, and just remind this body, this committee, that we allocated $100,000. If we were to give the awards, that all 40, it has amounted to $300,000. And unfortunately, we don't have $300,000. So we were going to do our best. And it's always challenging. This is not the fun part. It's most of not the fun part. But then just want to remind, especially, you council members, as we go through this process, just to elevate a few things, that we had a very amazing partner, Fairfield County's Community Foundation. They have provided in-kind services that any nonprofit that wish to have their application reviewed, that they will review it and just provide feedback and constructive criticism so that they can submit a stellar application. And we will have those numbers from Fairfield County Community Foundation. Unfortunately, many of the applicants did not use that service. And some of the applications were incomplete. Some of the applications didn't follow the directions. And because we have so many, I think you would agree with me, it'd only be fair that applications that were complete, applications that followed the instructions, will be reviewed first. if perchance we have more money, which is unlikely, we will also look at the other ones. And we'll be prepared to, at the August 3rd meeting, to articulate the scoring process, how applications were chosen, why they were chosen, and then hope this committee approves the selection of the reviews to then go forth for Common Council so we can move expeditiously to provide contracts and award this money to the organizations that have rise to the occasion during this during this initiative. And again, this is a pilot. And so in my office, in my role, I'll be advocating to the mayor. I'm excited to say that he's extremely open to continuing this. And as we as a city find innovative ways, but smart ways, how to support our smaller nonprofits who are doing phenomenal work with minimal budgets. So just want to give a prelude for August 3rd. I want to thank Chair Huberman for your leadership and your support in this project. And we look forward to presenting the organizations that the review process will be submitting for authorization for the mayor to go in contract to then award the funding for this group. And so thank you again for your support. Look forward to sharing the results of the committee. And the review committees are Ana Vivian Estrella, which is our Director of Human Services, Latoya Fernandez, which is our DEI officer, and Latanya Russell, who is Senior Grant Manager at Fairfield County's Community Foundation. They are the reviewers. They've already met, and they're in the process of moving very quickly, so they can be prepared August 3rd to present their selection to you all. And that concludes my updates and reports, Chair Huberman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Daniels. Just a note on the August 3rd special meeting. We are trying to coordinate with the Economic Community Development Committee as well about the time. So next week we'll have solidified that, and we will let you know what time that special meeting will be. It will either be 6 or 6:30 is what we're looking at right now.
Great, thank you, sir.
Thank you. We're going to move on to read the action items there and talk about them, but there will be no vote since we do not have a quorum this evening. These action items will be moved directly to the next council meeting, which is next week, correct? Yeah, it is. Oh, God. Is it? No, when's our next council meeting?
It's the, I don't know the date off the top of my head, but it's not next week. I know this because, oh, wait, no, I'm wrong. It is next week.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
next week. Sorry.
It's next week.
Look at this.
I'm confused. Sorry.
I live my life in confusion, so there we go. Hold on.
I believe it's July 25th. I think.
July, yes, the 25th. That is correct. Thank you. Sorry about that. So action item number 5.1. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all agreements, documents, instruments, or amendments needed to apply for and receive per capita grant in aid funding from the Connecticut Department of Public Health in the amount of $176,004.42, July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. And who is here to speak to that tonight? Is that you? Yeah. Ms. Diamore, thank you very much.
So the state health department provides local per capita and aid funding to local health departments, municipal health departments, and health districts. So if you're a municipal health department that has a population of greater than 50,000, or your health district that serves 3 or more towns or a population of greater than 50,000, you get state support in order to provide the 10 essential public health services. And so this is a grant that we apply for every year. It's guaranteed through state funding. It goes to the state operating budget. And so we have used this funding in a variety of ways to help support our department. Primarily, currently, we're using it to fund our health education associate. So a lot of this funding goes towards community health and community health efforts. Also able to support other staff that are on other grants. We're able to combine funding. So this has helped to put additional hours to our public health nurse who does follow up with and does case management for children that have elevated blood lead levels. We've also been able to use some of this funding in the past to support our emergency response team, volunteer coordinator, So we've used it in a lot of ways. We used it to fund our project coordinator in the past. We've used it to bring in consultants to help advise us on different practices and different projects, initiatives, used it to support some information technology initiatives. But over the next year, we're really looking forward to, using the funding to fund our health education associate, our public health nurse, and our emergency response team volunteer coordinator.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Are there any questions from the members of the committee? Great. We will move on to item number 2. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Ruling, to execute any and all agreements, documents, instruments, or amendments with Sacred Heart University as may be necessary to allow for students in the university's graduate and undergraduate programs to be placed at the Norwalk Health Department for internships and student learning opportunities. And I believe Ms. Argandesi is here to speak about that.
Yes, good evening. So I believe we've brought similar agreements from other universities, Fairfield University and the University of Connecticut, to this committee in the past, but some academic institutions require a contractual agreement with a host site to place interns or students to shadow or get experiential learning experiences in the field. And so because that can take some time, we do try to put some of these longer term affiliation agreements in place so that when an intern presents and is interested in working with us, that we're able to get them in a timely manner. And so this is another example of one of those agreements. And Sacred Heart has a great nursing program and a very strong public health program that we're interested in working with in the future.
Thank you. I think it's just great that we are able to offer this here in our community and that you guys are able to give these students these types of experiences, these sort of frontline experiences. And I'm very proud of us for being able to do that here in Norwalk. It's fantastic. Does any member of the committee have any questions? No? Well, thank you, Deanna, Teresa, for presenting. Both of those items will be moved to the council agenda for the 25th, since we did not have a quorum this evening to vote on them. That is all of the action items that we have this evening. Does anybody have anything they would like to say? If not, I will ask. I'm sorry, go ahead, Diana.
No, no, keep going because I was about to do what you're about to say.
I was going to say, do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you very much. All in favor? And everyone, yes. All right.
Whether we're in
Thank you.
favor or not, we're done, right?
Pretty much.
We can't technically vote, right?
Technically, we're finished. So there we go. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful
night.
and we will see you all August 3rd for the special meeting. All right.
Good
Good night.
night.
Good night.
Good night.